In this video, I'm going to be reviewing Rules of Civility by Amor Towles. Rules of Civility is about a young woman named Katie Content working through her friendships and romantic relationships in 1938 New York City. We also see her work her way up in her career. So, of course, the reason I read this book is because I read A Gentleman in Moscow and The Lincoln Highway, which I both overall enjoyed those books, and obviously I'm kind of obsessed about A Gentleman in Moscow. So naturally, I read this one too. I have gone through the Amor Towles gauntlet at this point, and one of my favorite parts about A Gentleman in Moscow was the writing, and this book came through. Not surprisingly, it has outstanding writing. Very similar to A Gentleman in Moscow. Not exactly the same, but very similar. I would say it's evocative, vivid, very detailed scenery. Again, similarly to A Gentleman in Moscow. No surprises there. It was well done in terms of the writing and descriptions. It kind of gave me what I wanted from The Lincoln Highway, because as you may or may not know, that book takes place in New York a lot, and I just didn't get the same feel that I did with this book. I very much felt like I was in New York while I was reading this, even though I've never been to New York, but I was able to picture 1938 New York very well. There's this one description where it talks about now I can't think of what I think it was a cathedral, but it talks about how there's a cathedral across from Atlas holding up the world, that statue in front of I believe it's the Rockefeller building. I forget what it's called, but it's Rockefeller building. And that like description of the church, the cathedral being right across from that was in my head so vividly, and I looked it up, and it was exactly how he described it. I might have seen like that be somewhere else before, but it's not like a thing that I thought of because I'd seen it before. I just thought of how he described it, and I saw it exactly. He described it exactly how I saw it. It was really cool. So, yeah, maybe not exactly. Like, I didn't think of exactly how the statue would look, but the close proximity of having the statue and the cathedral and the way that they look so opposing, he described that perfectly. And I really like that sort of feel that this book has. It's the reason I read historical fiction, if I'm being honest, that sort of thing. So that part of the book was perfect. Not really surprised, but it was good. Outstanding writing. I love his writing style a lot. The characters in this book are very interesting, and there are a lot of very lovable side characters. It's a very character focused story. It's, of course, the historical fiction aspects are very prevalent, but it's kind of like those have to be in the background, sort of, because they're just the setting. Those are just the setting, so they can't be the focal point. But like this book is about the characters, and like I said, they're interesting, but sometimes they make choices that don't completely make sense to me. It's like kind of just out of nowhere things happen sometimes, and maybe it's just that I don't understand. It might not be the fault of the book. It might just be that I was like, why did you do that? And I'm not completely sure what's going on here. Sometimes I realize later why they did it, but other times I'm like, I still don't get it why you did that. It's kind of weird. Other than that, they are very good characters, very deep. They all have unique personalities, of course, and they all have different philosophies, different ways they live their lives. Sometimes those philosophies of two different characters intertwine while they still have their differences at the same time. Very much like real people. He's great at making people feel like real people, which is always nice to read. When it comes to like character development, it's in there. It's good. Good character development. Possibly the best out of his I don't know. It's good. It's good. The character development is good. There's a clear line of development for the main character and some of the other characters as well. So overall, characters are pretty decent. They're good. Awesome. Not like the characters in A Gentleman in Moscow. I'll say they're much more vibrant than the characters in this book, but don't get me wrong, I still love the characters in this book. Real quick, I want to tell you about my own book, The Cards That Are Dealt. You can see it, it's right here. This is my book. Also, there's a poster right there. You might not care about it. I'm not, like, by any means a well-known author. I'm not known at all, really, but I think you might find it interesting. It's about a secret gambling club in a high school and how one of the students uses this club to try to save his grandmother from lung cancer and prove his bullies wrong. I worked really hard on it. I think it's good. I've heard a lot of good things from the people that have read it. They liked it a lot, and they found very deep emotion in it. So I think you should try it out. If you are interested or that sounds interesting to you, go in the description and check the first link. It'll take you to Amazon where you can buy my book as either a paperback or an ebook, or if you just want to learn more about it. So go check that out. I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's get on with the review. There is a clear moving plot in this book. It's not it doesn't really get bogged down at all. It moves pretty steadily, unlike A Gentleman in Moscow, which it's not a problem that that's happening. It's very different, which I think is cool that he's able to write such different books. But if you like more of a fast-paced plot, this one's a little bit more fast-paced. Stuff really happens pretty quickly. Like, it just, there is time to think about it. It's well balanced between the plot and the story, but it is more of a faster plot than A Gentleman in Moscow, like I said. So that's cool. So one of the other things about this book is I thought it was going to be more like business oriented. So like on the back it explains about her journey to the higher ends of New York society. So that to me, I mean, it's not like misleading necessarily, but it's just the way it explained it. It's more like, it sounds more like her moving up from a lower class to higher class, and she's worrying about lavish things like cars and clothes. And while she does think about those sometime, that's not the point of the book at all. I mean, like I said, it does talk about her moving up in her career from time to time, but that's by all means not the focus. The focus is the romance and the relationships in this book. And usually I'm not a romance person. And I'm gonna have to stop saying that, because what it really is I don't like when the focus is the romance. Like this is a historical fiction, so it's not just a romance. It's also about the time period and stuff like that. Same with Dark Matter. It's not just about the romance, but I do like the romance in this novel. It is a little melodramatic sometimes, a little over the top for what's happening. Like sometimes it's a little just over dramatic, but not necessarily in a bad way. It's good. It's just like I said, I feel like it's melodramatic because I wasn't expecting it to be a mostly romance. But I like the romance in this book because it feels very real to me. It's not like two people meet and all of a sudden they're in love or anything like that. It's just again, it's a mix between friendships and romances, between several different like groups of characters. It might be this character and that character with this character and that character, if that makes sense. But I think it's good. It's not like it doesn't feel fantastical, I guess. Is that even a word? I don't know. It doesn't feel like a fantasy where it's just like things are stretched and everything's perfect and these people are together and it's goofy, the things that come between them. No, it feels very real, and dealing with relationships as at the same time as you're worrying about other things in your life. I enjoyed it. I liked the choices he made too, a lot of times with the different relationships. There was one where I was like, that doesn't really make sense, but then I remembered that it does actually make sense, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I liked it a lot. They're very mature, and if you're reading a lot of relationships that, or reading a lot of relationships that are kind of toxic and messed up, I think you'll like this book. They're a lot more, just like I said, mature, level-headed relationships where it's it's more about these characters kind of discovering who they are, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, I like that aspect, and I like the choices he made. He definitely could have made wrong choices with doing romance in this book, but I think he made good choices. Overall, the overall arching thing I have to say about this book, and I've kind of been saying it throughout this review, is that it kind of just feels like real life. It feels like this could have been about a real person in a real set of people. So it's very, I don't say it's necessarily relatable, but it's relatable. Yeah. But I just like how much it captures the essence of what it's like to be a human being in the modern era. Even though this is the 1930s, that's still technically, I'd say, the modern era, and it captures that, having work, having relationships, wanting to read, stuff like that. I really liked it. Going to restaurants, and it doesn't, the thing that Amor Towles does so well in his book is it's not about a specific thing. It has many things that he discusses and talks about and lets you think about, which makes it feel very real and very much like real life. That's one of my favorite aspects about all of his books, honestly. The only thing I will say, another potential criticism, is that I kind of feel like this book forgets that there are people that haven't had it really bad during this time. I feel like they just don't exist. Well, contrary to that, uh, the Lincoln Highway does a very good job showing those people. So maybe it's not a criticism. I'm just saying, like, this, it's more about the lavishly living people, I guess you could say. And sometimes that's kind of cool to read about. Sometimes it's like, I don't care about these people. But anyway, I just wanted to add that. That's pretty much all I have to say about this book. Overall, I enjoyed it a lot. I'm glad I read it. Still, it's probably my second favorite of the three. With the, I don't know, it's so hard. The Gentleman Moscow is still my favorite, but I liked it a lot. I'm really glad to read. Oh, I also forgot to mention the person who did the audiobook, which is how I consume this. I have the book, but I did the audiobook. I listened to the audiobook. She did a fantastic job. Like, that's one of the better readings I've heard for a book. And I've heard a lot of readings, but she did she's a very popular um, um, I don't know what she does a lot of audiobooks. I don't know what you call that, a voice actor. I'll put her name on the screen. I should remember. I think it was Rebecca something, but she was really good. Like, blew my mind with her skill in reading this book. Like, just absolutely amazing, honestly. So yeah, that's cool. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this book. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. I hope you have a pleasant day.